Welcome into episode 115 of The Checklist, brought to you by Secure Mac. I'm Ken Ray.
And I'm August Trometer.
A bit of an oops from Amazon, making a wish on crypto coins, or vice versa, and Tim Berners-Lee wants to save the day. It's a cornucopia of security stuffing on this edition of The Checklist. We start today with news of an unintended data exposure because we never talk about those. CNET says Amazon said Wednesday that it had accidentally disclosed some of its users' email addresses and names, but has since patched up the problem. They went public with this on Wednesday, though a friend of mine actually posted the message that he received from Amazon Tuesday night. In the email, Amazon told customers that they won't need to change their passwords or take any other action. This was a technical problem on Amazon's side, not a hack or a breach, according to CNET. What Amazon did not say was exactly what went wrong, how many people were affected, and where the email addresses were exposed. Now, I got to tell you, I am suffering from flatulence of the mind. I know this is bad. I mean, everything I read, I get why this is bad, but I'm having trouble putting two and two together. Walk me through a real-world scenario where this ends up being a bad thing for somebody.
I think anymore when you talk about security, it's very much about trust. And I think Amazon was just trying to get ahead of the story. Where it could be bad is if they were indeed breached and somebody did get to take that data. Now, Amazon's saying that didn't happen. But, like a lot of things, sometimes you don't notice when these things happen.
All right. So, I'm thinking about things, though, like the old Werner Vinge story, True Names and Other Dangers. I'm thinking about everything that we've talked about on the checklist for the past couple of years, where every bit of information is somebody being one step closer to being able to phish you, is being able to sort of, steal your identity or at least chip away a tiny bit. Do you really think there's nothing wrong here except that it could look bad for Amazon, or is there a danger in what happened?
Well, I think there's definitely a danger. Anytime data is potentially exposed, there's danger. But I sort of see this like Amazon left the back door unlocked to the house. Mm-hmm. And rather than just, locking the door and not telling anybody about it, they're saying, look, this is what happened. We accidentally left the door unlocked, but hey, we checked everything and nobody stole our TV. So we're all good. And I think, like I said, it's more of a trust issue than anything else.
Not knowing how many people were affected seems like an annoyance more than anything. Where some companies will simply cop to a data breach or data loss, Amazon has actively reached out to people who may have been affected. Is knowing the number of people affected important from a security stance as far as you're concerned?
Yes, only because, one email address is not a big deal. Sure, maybe it's, somebody important's email address. But when you start talking about tens of thousands or millions of email addresses, then that's a real problem. So I think knowing the number is important, just because that way you know how big of a hole this was. But obviously Amazon's decided to keep their mouth shut on that.
Oh, yeah. Well, for years on Mac OS Ken, I've talked about the game Fun with Numbers Without Numbers, and that was always an Amazon thing. On the sales side, they say, we sold more of these than we ever have before. And it's was that from 5 to 7? We don't know. So it's not surprising if they're not required to give away the information on the, well, again, I don't want to say the breach side because they were careful to say it wasn't a breach. If they don't want to give out this number on this side, it's hardly surprising because that's Amazon on any day that ends in Y.
Sure, and they could pull like a Facebook too and go, well, it was 10,000 email addresses, and then a week later go, well, it was closer to 100,000, and then a week later, well, it was like 5 million, and by that time we've completely forgotten about the story, and then when they tell you it was 50 million emails, everyone goes, that thing, okay.
It's like
it's Facebook. Yeah, it happens, right?
It's like the Eddie Izzard thing. You get to certain numbers of something terrible happening to people, and you're almost like, well done, because, the numbers get so big, you don't even know what to say. Now, what's funny to me, I mean, you said you forget about this story. What's funny to me is CNET seems to think this story might matter. And I mean, honestly, I think it should matter. And yes, it does matter, but almost nobody's going to hear about it, or take any kind of action. CNET says the disclosure comes at an especially problematic time for Amazon, since it's about to go through the busiest time of the retail year, starting with Thanksgiving, then going into Cyber Monday. This is definitely a deal, though. I mean, as we just decided, it's probably not a big deal. I mean, it's potentially a black eye for Amazon, except between Black Friday, Cyber Monday, parades, football games, tweets from world leaders, and, oh yeah, Thanksgiving, it seems unlikely that the world at large is even going to hear about this.
No, and, if they've told people, look, you don't even need to worry about changing your password, then I think they have a fairly high degree of confidence that, nothing's going to come of this. And I do think this is sort of CNET trying to do a little clickbait.
Well, that's not really fair, though. I mean, first of all, CNET is where I found it, but I found it a few other places, including, as I said, a friend of mine did post on Twitter last night, having erased a bunch of stuff, obviously, but did post on Twitter last night, well, this is concerning, and then a picture of the message that he got from Amazon. So, I mean, the story is out there. It's not... Look, I will be the first to call clickbait on someone. I mean, this actually feels to me like a relatively important story, just so people are aware of the kinds of things that can happen going forward. I mean, I'll give you an example. You pointed out Amazon has said that potentially affected customers don't need to change their password or take any other action. I'm always concerned when stuff like this comes out. When a company comes out and says, this thing happened, but we fixed it. I'm all in favor of them doing that. The problem that I have is people just sort of like half hear it. And so then a quick thinking scam artist might leap on news of the exposure and send out emails, pretending to be the company. Like if you get an email in the next couple of days that looks like it's from Amazon saying, you probably heard about the recent data exposure, click here to log in and update your password. I mean, it's almost like, you want to know, but you want to make sure that everybody really knows and fully understands, because what is it? A little knowledge is a dangerous thing, right? I'm not saying that these scam emails are out there, but news like this is a double-edged sword. Fair enough.
And that is a very fair point. When you look at the actual event itself, I don't think it's a big deal. But when you look at what people might do with the information surrounding that event, it does become a bigger deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's great that, people are more informed, but bad guys are always looking for points of vulnerability and, could try to use situations like this one. So please, everybody, be on your toes. Heartless hackers hack away. The next web says ne'er-do-wells infected the official Make-A-Wish site. Make-A-Wish.
I wish people would stop being scammers.
I know, right? The next web says ne'er-do-wells infected the official Make-A-Wish site with cryptocurrency mining malware. According to the report, researchers from the security firm TrustWave found that one of the foundation's websites, worldwish.org, was compromised with cryptocurrency malware known as CoinImp. The malware infects the website with a malicious script to steal visitors' computing power to covertly mine cryptocurrency. Now, I know we've talked about this on the show in the past, but can you remind us, please, how a day starts with me visiting a site? Well, let's back up. What's going on in the background, first of all, and then how is it that just my going to a site ends with me having malware?
Sure. So, there are different services out there. CoinImp is one of them. They provide JavaScript, which can easily be added to your own website. CoinImp itself is not really malware. It's an open source project. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It turns browsers into cryptocurrency mining operations. And it's a way for websites supposedly to be able to earn revenue without advertising. Now, when you do that in the dark and not tell people what you've added to their browser and why your CPU is going crazy, it becomes very unethical. And then if you do it if you hack into something, which I think is what's happened here, and add that to the site, unbeknownst to anybody other than yourselves, that's where we really have a problem.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of curious what your definition of malware is then, because here's the thing. A gun is a tool if you're out hunting. A gun is a murder weapon if you murder somebody. Do you know what I mean? It almost feels to me like this is malware, not based on what the software does, but the fact, as you say, they hacked into somebody else's site, they put it on there, and then it was, hitching a ride with everybody who came by.
Sure. And that I would totally agree with. But CoinImp itself and the other open source projects that are like CoinImp are not by themselves malware. It's when somebody covertly adds them to a website that it sort of becomes that. Okay. Salon, for example, they gave you a choice. They experimented at one point giving you a choice. Would you rather turn your browser into a cryptocurrency miner, or would you rather look at ads? I don't believe they're doing that any longer, but it is a legitimate way to try and earn revenue using somebody else's computer. Now, in this particular case, I think it's probably because, from what I recall, the organization was using an outdated version of Drupal. And Drupal has a long history of being hacked, including Drupalgeddon, where, over 100,000 Drupal sites were part of what got hacked. And if you can be a hacker and hack into the source code of something like that, then you have the chance of actually earning some real revenue. One website, unless you're Amazon, is not going to turn you rich using this software.
Well, it is terrible that this happened to the Make-A-Wish site. This is becoming ridiculously common. The next web says hackers were able to exploit 400 prominent websites using outdated versions of Drupal, including those of the U.S. National Labor Relations Board, Chinese tech company Lenovo, Taiwanese network hardware maker D-Link, and the University of California, Los Angeles. It's not only Drupal sites at risk. More than 300,000 routers in India and Brazil were found to be infected with cryptocurrency mining malware earlier this year. And finally, research conducted by McAfee Labs found that more than 2.5 million new cryptojacking scripts were installed in just the second quarter of 2018. Now, you kind of hinted a moment ago at why I care, but why do I care? If I don't know this is happening, if it's not affecting my emailing and my Facebooking and my Netflix and chilling, why do I care that this is happening?
Well, let's say for the sake of example that no other software is being installed on your computer, which, because it's through JavaScript, is probably true. The reason you care is because cryptocurrency mining is very processor intensive. And as the price of cryptocurrency has gone down, the value of the cryptocurrency and the processing of that to try and get more coin has become more expensive than the actual cryptocurrency. So, and that's in terms of power. So a lot of these companies that have these great big, huge warehouses full of cryptocurrency mining machines, their power bill now can't pay what they're making for the cryptocurrency. So instead, they offload that to everybody else's browser, let you and me and whoever else do the mining for them. What that does is it drives up our energy bill. It slows down our computer because our CPU is maxed out. So that's why you care.
I got to say, it's probably that people are going to notice, right? I mean, my computer can't be using enough power that I'm going to see it on my phone bill. Well, I'm never going to see it on my phone bill. I'm not going to see it on my electric bill, but it's when I'm sitting here and, my computer's fan is kicking on for what seems to me to be absolutely no reason, or everything's going more slowly. It's because this thing that was maybe just supposed to be taking a drop or two of my computing power is suddenly taking a lot more because a lot more is needed.
Correct.
Okay.
And one of the ways you can spot that is just open up your activity monitor on your Mac, and you can see, what processes are using the most CPU. And if it's Safari, it's possible that it could be some sort of mining software. Now, there are techniques to be able to sort of block the mining software. I think ad block, you can block domains. If you've got an ad block extension installed on Chrome, there are Chrome extensions that will block it automatically for you. So there's ways to make sure that you don't support these jokers.
It's almost like you were reading ahead. I mentioned earlier that we talked about crypto mining and crypto mining malware, or, if you don't want to say malware, crypto mining software used as malware, let's say. Checklist number 79, cryptocurrency and you, was the episode where we did that. And some of the points we hit were things like run a good ad blocker, as August just said, keep your security software up to date. That's about a 7-second recap of what was a 25-minute show. There is, of course, a lot more information on checklist 79, and it's ready and waiting for you at securemac.com/checklist. We'll wrap the day with an attempt to save us all in a moment. But first, a word about MacScan 3 from Secure Mac. You know that having a Mac is not all the malware protection you need. You need to be running a good security suite. And that's where MacScan 3 comes in. MacScan 3 is a great defense against malicious software attacks aimed at your Mac. It's developed by Secure Mac, trusted names in computer security and developers of exceptional security software for the Mac for well over a decade. MacScan 3 detects and removes Mac malware, catches keyloggers, removes tracking cookies, and provides full range or targeted scanning, all without crowding up your hard drive or slowing down your computer. Say goodbye to worry and hello to the comfort of security with MacScan 3 from Secure Mac. Sign up for a free 30-day trial today at securemac.com/MacScan. That's MacScan 3 by Secure Mac. A 30-day free trial is waiting for you at securemac.com/MacScan. We'll wrap up the day with a superhero. Well, I don't know if he's a superhero. He wouldn't mind being a superhero, though, I think. He did something pretty amazing, and now he's trying to fix the amazing thing that he did. When he created the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee changed the world. And now he wants to change what he made for the better. CNET says Berners-Lee is working on an open source project that can theoretically let people keep their personal information locked down. Here's his idea. Berners-Lee's startup, Inrupt, is backing an open source project called Solid that's designed to let us keep control over our own data instead of leaving it in the data centers of companies like Facebook and Google. You store the data in your own pod, and those companies get access only when you grant permission. The piece goes on to say Berners-Lee's vision is a profound rewrite of how business online works, and embracing that view won't be easy. Even if people are eager to spend time managing data sharing details, the technology won't work unless companies sign up for the vision too. But there are signs that trends are pushing that direction as people install browsers or browser extensions that block behavior tracking, and Europe's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, is forcing companies to offer some consumer controls. Now, for people who don't remember the ins and outs of GDPR, we talked about it on checklist number 90. Who is GDPR? A primer. It's the holidays, August. I don't want to be negative, Do you?
I don't want to be negative either, but I have a hard time seeing how this is going to work. Mm-hmm. I think it's a fantastic, idealistic way of looking at things. But the fact of the matter is, companies are going to have to sign off on this. And once they sign off on it, either they, covertly copy your data and use it how they want anyway,
right,
or they don't make the revenue that their shareholders want them to make, which means they're not going to sign off on it. So I really have a hard time seeing how this is going to work. Though, boy, it would be very nice if it would.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, right? I mean, if it's voluntary, which it's going to have to be, it only takes one company to not do it. I mean, it only takes Google to not do it, or Facebook to not do it, or Twitter to not do it. I mean, whomever, because there's going to be more money. Look, I love the fact that DuckDuckGo is having a good a time of it as they are. And I love the fact that people are getting so hip to how much information is being kept on them that they're turning to things like DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is never going to make anything like the money that Google is making, holding on to all that information and then forcing it back on me as if it was their idea, right?
Right.
I mean, what I don't like about this is I am pessimistic. What I do like about it, though, is Tim Berners-Lee is tackling the problem in a big way and encouraging all of us to do the same thing. Going back to the CNET piece, for Berners-Lee, the issue is personal. He's remained active as a steward of the World Wide Web he invented in 1989 through groups like the World Wide Web Consortium and Web Foundation. One recent effort there is the web contract he's helping to design in an effort to make the web more trustworthy and less susceptible to some of today's dystopian problems. It was fine until a couple of years ago, he said, but now there's a bunch of junk out there. There's lots of nasty stuff out there. The utopia has curved to what a lot of people out there on the street think is a pretty dystopian web. He's encouraging people to participate in creating the web contract. Some of these things will be easy, like freedom, bandwidth. Some will be tricky, like no hate speech, but freedom of speech, he said. But the web is made by humans, and he believes we can steer its future. It's a holiday, man. I want to stop there. It's a holiday. I want to stop there. Because here's the thing. I hear you about to be negative about it, and I would really rather leave on the positive note. Everything that we look at, not everything that we look at, if it's going to rain, it's going to rain. But so much of the stuff that we look at as, well, there's nothing you can do, was done by people. I would like to think that there are things that we could do. There's nothing you can do. There are things that we can do. I mean, even if,
sure.
And like one of those is just keeping an eye on things like this contract that Berners-Lee is talking about.
And I forget who said it, but everything's impossible until you do it.
There you go. Before we part ways for the day, I mentioned the show's website earlier, securemac.com/checklist. Episode 79 is the one I talked about before, Cryptocurrency and You. Well, it's one of the ones I talked about. There were others as well. There is another episode that's definitely worth revisiting, though, especially if you're hearing this on Thanksgiving Day or maybe early on Friday. Checklist number 12, 5 tips for secure holiday shopping. A lot of it's common sense stuff, but it never hurts to be reminded. I mean, probably a lot of us are going to be shopping this weekend or, in the next month leading up to Christmas. 5 tips for secure holiday shopping. That is checklist number 12. And you can find that at securemac.com/checklist or wherever you go for podcasts. If you have a question you would like to ask or a topic you'd like to hear us hit, our email address is checklist@securemac.com. That address again is checklist@securemac.com. And if you can't remember that, please do remember this. You're listening to The Checklist, brought to you by Secure Mac. And we'll talk to you next week.